Hello and welcome to the MLB DFS slate breakdown for Friday, May 3rd. We are back. We're breaking it down. We got a big boy slate today, and we're going to be going over that. But first, we'll start with the perfect lineups from yesterday, the winning lineups, and then the pitchers for today, the high-owned, the lower-owned pivots we can do, and then followed by stacks. So I think it's going to be a fun one. Let's dive in. Before we do, come join us at LineStar. We have a bunch of different promo offers and different ways to get involved, get in to the community cheap. One is we have a week trial on the App Store, on the Apple App Store, that is only $3 for the first week to try it out. That does go up to like $12 a week after that, but if you like it, you can just go to the monthly option for $40 or the yearly option for $240. So a lot of ways you can get involved for cheap and come join us. It's a good time. We have fun in chat and we like to try and win some money. So let's get into it now. Starting on, we'll go to FanDuel and the perfect lineup. All right, so yesterday, Nathan Eovaldi was the pitcher. Then we had a three-man Cubs and three-man Baltimore stack with a one-off of Colorado and Mets. Lindor with the game-winning hit, the walk-off hit that got it done for them. So, nice little 3-3 stack. And then the winning lineup actually went to Fear Dragon X, who had four-man Chicago stack and a four-man Baltimore stack with Eovaldi as the pitcher. Congrats to Fear Dragon. Congrats on the 15K. And let's get over to DK now. All right, so DraftKings, we had Kyle Harrison and Nathan Eovaldi got it done with another 3-3 stack in the same one-offs being Colorado and Lindor, with the winning lineup on DraftKings going to Hetty Brosevelt. Man, that is an awesome name. Good old Hetty Brosevelt. He had Eovaldi, he had Harrison, he had a, four-man Chicago stack. You don't see four-man on DraftKings that often, and it is generally five. It is actually five. Sorry, my bad. I was missing Morel there. And then one off of Colorado, Baltimore, and Texas. So it was a 5-1-1-1. Got it done. Good old Hetty Brosevelt came home with $50,000 extra after that slate yesterday. Now let's see if we can make that money today. So starting on DraftKings, high-owned pitcher, we got Sonny Gray. I think he is the absolute obvious choice here, as he's going against the White Sox. He's fully stretched out now as a starter. 2.38 FIP over his last 5, 2.67 over his last 20. So he's pretty much who he has been. But over the last 5, his K rate is 34%. Now, I think that's a little high for him due to the fact that his last 20 starts, he's at 26.7. So there might be some regression to a lower K rate here, but he is in a great spot. White Sox, as we talked about, are terrible. However, they are a little bit better now. Eloy is back. Tommy Pham is hitting very well for him. So they're better than they were throughout that last stretch, but it doesn't stop. Combined K rate at almost 28%. He's 10.1K. He's in a good matchup. They're favorites. It's a low game score. I think there's a lot of reason to like this. One thing that I do say, now we only have it as a 5% chance for postponement, but there is a couple weather situations to watch today. So just pay attention to that. I am doing this breakdown a couple hours earlier than I normally do. So I didn't dive as much into weather as I normally would, as it's just kind of early to tell. So just make sure you do your research on that weather for today's slate. So I like Gray. Think he's the obvious choice. Next, we got Tanner Bibee, 8.5K. I think Bibee's in a real interesting spot. His K rate, or his line on Strikeouts is like 6.5 today, so it's pretty high. Angels no longer have Trout. Obviously they don't have Ohtani. This K rate is super high, 25%. Woba's low. At least the ISO is a little bit elevated here. So the Angels can hit the ball hard still. They have several guys that can put it over the fence. But as a whole, this Angels team is not very good anymore without Trout. And we can definitely pick on them. Now, there's a couple things here we need to go over with BB. One, his FIP is much higher than his ERA. Now, this happened over his last 20 starts, 3.4 versus a 2.68 FIP. There are some guys that just somehow just skate along getting a little lucky. And BB seems to be one of those guys where the regression monster doesn't fully come to get him. And his numbers always, tend to be a little bit better than the FIP was. That's happening now, but his K rate has been real, 28%, 27.9% K rate. Over his last 20, it's down to 25, but regardless, both very good numbers. Combined K rate, 26%, and he's at 8,500. I think he's very, very interesting today on good old DraftKings. Next, we got Dylan Cease. 9.3K for Dylan Cease is a little bit low, in my opinion. He just has big-time upside, and Arizona hasn't been great versus righties. 3.05 WOBA, 137 ISO. They're only 21 at bats, but only hitting 240 off Cease. The scary thing for me is Cease has been allowing a lot of barrel balls and a decent average distance. StatCast data is a little scary. 42% fly balls, 31% hard contact. He's allowing a little too many barrel balls, and the fly balls are there. He just needs to make sure if he allows home runs that they come with nobody on base, and he's going to look pretty good. 9.3K, 1.8x value. We got 24.2% combined K rate. I think he's very interesting, especially going at a little lower owned, just because we do know he is a guy that can do, double-digit strikeouts when he has it going, and there's really nobody on this slate that's going to get to that point. So he is interesting. There is upside. He's going a little bit at lower owned. Definitely a little bit of interest. Next, we got Marcus Stroman. All year I've been doing it, and once again I'm going to be doing it. I just don't like his upside for his price. One, FIP is high, 5.21 over his last 5, 4.09 over his last 20. Now, it shows he has been having some bad luck over his last 20 with that ERA being so much higher than his FIP. But all in all, I just can't really get there. I don't love the spot. It is only the Tigers, so it is a good matchup for him. But I just don't think the ceiling is there. We have it at 24.9% combined K rate due to the fact his K rate over his last 5 is 24.8, and the Tigers' K rate to righties is high at 24.6. So maybe there is a little more upside than I'm giving it credit, but I think Stroman is more this 20.5% K rate guy, and I think this combined K rate should be more like 22-ish. It's just that, I just don't love him as a starter and almost at 9K. I get it if you want to go there, but I think the upside is lacking here. Next, Ronel Blanco. Guy has been pitching amazing. I do have to say that there is probably some regression coming here soon. 3.52 FIP over a 1.64 ERA over these 5 starts. I do think regression's coming here. He's letting a decent amount of guys on base with free passes. And I think it's only a matter of time till that kind of bites him. However, he's averaging 27% more fantasy points at home. Seattle striking out 28% versus righties. His K rate his K line for props is like 5.5. So there's a lot to like here. Mariners aren't great. They can be decent though. And Blanco's allowing, too many fly balls probably, but a lot of contact that's just not very hard. Only 20% hard contact. So I don't mind going some Blanco, but I also do think the regression monster is going to come to him there. So he is not a priority, but I definitely will have him on my player pool. 26.8% combined K rate is very, very good at 8.2K. Next, Tanner Houck, 8.1K. His pricing on DK and FanDuel is crazy. FanDuel is extremely high, but I think he's in an interesting spot here. Now, Minnesota's been hitting the ball very well. 334 WOBA, so decent WOBA. Real high ISO, 204, but they strike out a lot at almost 20% K rate. Houck averaging 20% more fantasy points while away. Luckily, this one is away. He has a 2.43 FIP over his last 5 starts, so he's been very, very good. Comes with a 1.89 ERA. The only thing is his strikeout rate is 23%, so it's a little lower than everybody else we've talked about outside of Stroman, but he has been extremely good. This Twins offense is behind, or this Red Sox offense is behind him, which has been decent. I don't mind going here whatsoever. It is an interesting spot because of that Minnesota K rate. However, they also do hit the ball hard. 1.x value projection wise, I'm absolutely willing to go here. Line Star projection sees something there. I think it's very interesting. I actually did take his over for Ks today. The line was at 5.5. So getting plus money on that over there is why I went there. But I think it's interesting, and I could definitely see him being one of the guys that is optimal. JP Sears next versus Miami. I think we got to talk about Sears here, which is wild. It's this Miami offense that isn't that good. But they don't strike out a ton versus lefties. So that is the big thing, not in Sears' favor. The other big thing, 44% less fantasy points at home. I think that makes no sense that he's that much worse at home because it is Oakland. It's not like it's the ballpark that is super hitter friendly. So I'm not going to buy too much into that. However, it's at least something to take note of and realize. But he is only 6.1K, going against a poor offense, and I don't mind taking some shots here. So I think it's an interesting spot. The one thing is the combined K rate is very, very low. At least he is low owned, so if he is able to get one of these 5-7K days at 6,100, he can absolutely be optimal, and he can totally get it against this Miami offense. He just needs to miss a couple more bats than he normally does, and he's interesting. We have seen a little bit of ceiling out of him, so I'm at least intrigued and at least willing to talk about him. Do I love him today? No, but I think he's interesting. George Kirby, 7,800 versus this Astros team. I know Kirby is way worse away, averaging 51% less fantasy points away, but I love this price tag, and I think he is due for some positive regression. We saw it last time versus Arizona. He went 7 innings, had 12 Ks. He has a 2.23 FIP over his last 5 starts, and that comes with a 5.19 ERA. The ERA is way worse than it should be. He is a much better pitcher than that, and Astros haven't been that great of a team right now. They do hit the ball hard. They do have a decent WOBA. They don't strike out a ton. But I'm interested in Kirby at a very cheap price for, more of an elite pitcher than the pricing is given credit to. So I think he is price strong, and for that, I'm going to have some, even against a hard Astros team. I'm a little bit intrigued. Now, it's the Astros, so I'm not going all in on Kirby, even though he's underpriced, but I'm definitely going to make sure I have some of him at low ownership. After Kirby, not too into everybody else. Soriano has shown some upside, but it's against the Guardians, so I don't want to do that. Keller, Stone, CC, meh. Charlie Morton is versus the Dodgers, and while he can have good outings, I'm a little scared to go against the Dodgers. They do well at, making pitchers take extra pitches and take walks and do what they need to. And that's just not the kind of offense that you want to face if you're Charlie Morton. Plus, he's averaging almost 35% less fantasy points when he's away. So, not too intrigued to go there. You could say Ryan Weathers is interesting, though, because it is versus Oakland. He had that one real good game against San Francisco this year. Outside of that, he's been pretty bad. But this is an Oakland's team that's striking out 26% versus lefties. 255 Woba, 134 ISO. It's just not a very good offense versus lefties. And that's what Weathers is. So it's really a meh pitcher versus a poor lineup. And at only 6K with a guy that, I know they're going to let go 95 pitches or so, I'm intrigued. So that's the only other one that I'd be intrigued on here. And let's get into the pitchers on FanDuel. All right, so Tanner Bibee, highest owned, 9.4K, 37% owned. I'm absolutely intrigued. The thing that's crazy about FanDuel is the pricing differences. Bibee is one of the solid options, but then there's, almost a 2K price jump to the other solid options. So I think Bibee is clearly, for good reason, one of the higher owned guys. Next, Sonny Gray. Obvious option here. Only thing that's scary is 11.5K. He is super pricey, but definitely still intrigued to go there. Stroman, 9.7K. I'm not going there at that price. Dylan Cease, 11K. I will absolutely have some of him because, as I said, he has really the highest ceiling on the slate. There's nobody else that can consistently get around double-digit strikeouts on this slate. So intrigued to go there. A little intrigued by Sears. A little intrigued, not intrigued by Huck on FanDuel. The reason being 11.3K is just crazy. I think it's like 3K higher than DraftKings. It's nuts. Blanco is a little bit interesting to me at 10.8K. I do think that is too high, but with Seattle's strikeout rate, I don't mind getting there a little bit. And Kirby at 9.6 is still intriguing. I do wish it was a little bit lower, like on DraftKings, but absolutely nobody's going there, and he's just as good of a pitcher as these other guys that are going high-owned. So I'm definitely still intrigued to go there and get a little different there. So let's get into stacks now. So it's on FIP, so we'll just start on that one. Get a little shot of coffee real quick. All right, so Ryan Weathers is the highest FIP guy, but it's that Oakland offense that just is terrible versus lefties. So while I said I'm interested in Weathers, and I am on DraftKings, not on FanDuel really, you can also use the Oakland offense. I mean, you're just talking about two pitchers that aren't very consistent, aren't very good in this game, so I don't mind picking on either one of them. All right, so let's go to the projected own. On a 9-game slate, projected own shouldn't be too high owned, 64%. I absolutely do not mind that ownership for a 5-man stack. Brad Keller is the pitcher, 5.46 FIP over his last 20, almost a 7 over his last 5. Makes a lot of sense to want to go to St. Louis. It's a very cheap stack too, so I get it. You can pay up for pitching. You can do a lot of different stuff with that cheap of a stack. Oakland's popping up a little bit, which I think is crazy. If that is the case, Ryan Weathers is actually a little more interesting to me since Oakland is a higher owned stack, just to get a little bit of leverage there. And then Atlanta is popping up versus Gavin Stone. Gavin Stone, very good over the last couple starts. The FIP is down to 3.7, but it is actually one of the better hitting environments on this slate. I don't mind going to Atlanta versus him. The offense has been struggling a little bit, so maybe it comes a little lower owned than projected, but I'm definitely a bit intrigued by ATL. And let's get over to the highest projected stacks. And we got Atlanta and we have the Dodgers. I would say no surprise to both of those. There's only 3 games with a 9 total, and Dodgers, Braves, Padres, Diamondbacks, and then Texas and Royals. So those are really the most, likely going to be the more higher owned offenses. And Braves Dodgers are clearly the 2 best offenses in the league, so not surprised to see them both high owned. Both of them are in a decent spot, and this is a series in a game where you could really see those stacks go nuts because they're going to need to. Neither offense is going to be able to rest this series, so it's a very interesting one. I can't wait to watch those games. Next, highest value, we got Oakland. As we've kind of talked about already, I don't mind it, but I don't love it. White Sox are popping up a little bit against Sonny Gray, which it's going to be a super leverage stack, but I just don't love that White Sox offense, so real hard for me to go to that leverage there. But game theory-wise, having a little doesn't make, doesn't hurt. On FanDuel, I would have to say the leverage offense is the Angels versus BB, though. But there is a little bit of concern for PPD in that game, so watch that as the day goes on. All right, so highest ceiling, we got Red Sox versus Chris Paddack. I think that is very interesting. Paddack, 4.88. He's, not a very versatile pitcher. He only has a couple pitches. And if Boston gets on those, it could be a real bad day for him. So I understand why Boston looks a little interesting versus Paddack. Dodgers are popping up against Morton. As I said, he walks a lot of guys. He let guys on. You can definitely get him out of the game a little early just because he throws too many pitches. So a little bit intrigued by the Dodgers, intrigued by the Braves. Houston is popping up. Now, I don't love this one. I know Kirby got hit a couple times, but if you look at some of those games, a lot of them were just like soft ground balls, but just right in the right spot where, nobody could get there. So I don't love picking on Kirby, but hey, bad luck can happen to anybody. And Houston at least has some very good bats. KC's popping up a little bit versus Lorenzen. Don't mind going to there. KC's been a very interesting team, and they score a lot of different ways. So intrigued to go there. Now let's click on teams so we can see some of the higher implied totals. So Diamondbacks, Royals, Dodgers, Padres, and Texas all at 4.8. The worst bullpen of those is Arizona. They also have Sassoni as the pitcher who, his FIP has been very low, but overall I don't think he's anything, game-changing as far as his ability. So Padres are absolutely interesting. If they can get to him, could go his well. Charlie Morton, the Braves have a very good bullpen. San Diego's bullpen has been meh. Texas's bullpen has been okay. The other bullpens to really pick on are the White Sox and Miami, so St. Louis or Oakland stacks. Then you can also go down to Seattle. Now, if Blanco has the regression monster come for him like it appears it should be, that Houston bullpen hasn't been very good, so a little bit intrigued to go by it there. And one stack that I need to talk about that just routinely is going overlooked is Cleveland. Now they're versus the Angels. Soriano just got crushed. He's allowing a lot of hard contact, high average X velocity, and then this Angels bullpen isn't good. So while there is only a 4.2 applied total, it's only 0.6 difference than, the top guys. I think they are totally in play today, and they are a low-owned stack that I would probably consider. And most projection systems just don't love the team. the team doesn't have, a couple hitters outside of Jose Ramirez that project very well. So it's kind of hard to get those stacks through optimizers sometimes. But I'm absolutely intrigued. So that'll do it for us today, guys. Have a good one. Good luck. Have a great weekend. We'll be back tomorrow. Let's make some money. Adios.